The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. And here we go with Kenzie's Krimes.
Dun. Okay.
So,
This one's good. I'm excited about this.
good. Well, first off, they've all been good. They've all been compelling. They're all at our podcast at Q101.com. You can check it out. And this is basically a crime mystery, Illinois, Chicago based. Kenzie throws it out to me in case we don't know anything about what she's about to talk about. And you might be in that situation as well, or maybe you know a little bit about it, but not the kind of dive that Kenzie does on this story.
Yes. So I don't know, Brian, if you've ever heard of, this is funny, he has the same name as you, but have you ever heard of Brian Carrick?
Brian Carrick, I have not. Case, have you heard of Brian Carrick?
Unfamiliar with that man.
Are you?
No, I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, unfamiliar. Okay.
He was all excited.
You are?
No, I don't know a Brian Carwick.
So, and it's Carrick, mind you, I always put the disclaimer out there, names may be said wrong, okay? Because I'm just a phonetical bitch. That's how I operate.
Names are said wrong to protect the innocent.
Yeah, that's what's going on. So Carrick is how I'm assuming it is said. It's C-A-R-R-I-C. I'm going to call C-A-R-R-I-C-K. I'm going to just be calling him Brian for the most part, though. So
okay.
Don't get it twisted with Mr. Brian Haddad, who's hosting the show. Okay.
Good disclaimer.
Yes, thank you very much.
I can't wait to see what vile thing this guy did that now you're going to be associated with.
Oh, God.
No, Brian. Okay, well, now I don't want, no spoilers. You just listen. Okay. So Brian Carrick was a likable, 17-year-old high school junior. 7th out of 14 kids.
He's 1 out of 14. Wow.
Well, yeah, and he was the 11th in line, so
Damn.
he wasn't going to be the king if this was a royal family, you know what I'm saying? Okay, the 11th of 14th kids, and he worked at Val's Foods grocery store as a stocker. Now, he was the 8th kid in his family to work at that grocery store. They lived in Johnsburg, Illinois, which is about 50 miles outside Chicago. Johnsburg, have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You've heard of I'm saying it right?
Yeah, you are. Yep.
Okay, cool. I almost keep wanting to say it like jaundice, like the things baby can get, like Johnsburg. It's kind of weird to say. So Johnsburg, Illinois, 50 miles outside Chicago. Now, it was the last day of school before Christmas break, and you know how kids get. He is revved up. He's excited. His parents described him as being like in the best mood ever, right? And he was heading to his shift at Val's Foods that Friday evening, which was 5 nights before Christmas. And he actually worked across the street. So this grocery store was across the street from their house. So he was just walking across the street, had to do his shift, done with school, and ready for Christmas, right?
Sounds very nice.
Yeah, and the families were very close. So the Casario family all worked in this grocery store as well. They were part owners, and their kids worked there. Cousins were managers, all sorts of stuff, right? So Brian was described as the type of guy that felt like he owned the place himself. Former Val's food manager, Eugene Casario, so part of the Casario family, said to 2020, he'd come in and start bagging groceries on his days off if he saw that the line was backed up.
Wow.
So these families were really close. Think about it. 8 of Brian's family members had worked at this grocery store, and then this whole family works at the grocery store. They live across the street from it, just very tight-knit, right? So Val Foods co-owner, Jerry Casario, also claimed Brian was like a son to him. So again, just like reconfirming how close these families were. Now, the morning after Brian's Friday night shift, he had gotten out of school, had the shift that night, and it was 5 days before Christmas. So the morning after that shift, Terry got a phone call that her son had never showed up for work.
Huh.
And think about how weird that is, because it's across the street.
Right.
And never showed up for work.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And now I want to reiterate, Brian's age is 17 years old.
Okay.
So it's not like her 12-year-old went to work where it's like, how would you not know? You didn't walk him across the street. Like he was pretty grown, you know, as a junior and stuff. He should have been able to walk across the street. I don't blame her at all. So the community itself in Johnsburg was so close that they rushed to help and look for Brian, because this was really, really shocking. It was everyone in this neighborhood knew each other, right?
Yep.
And now Val's Foods even posted a $25,000 reward and helped fund the candlelight vigil outside of the store. So with over 300 tips pouring in, investigators found blood evidence finally for Brian.
Oh, no.
And it was at Val's Foods.
Whoa.
His blood was found in the cooler, all over produce boxes.
That's unfortunate.
Right. Covered in produce boxes. It was clear that a struggle had occurred within the cooler. Things were broken, knocked over, etc. And Brian's blood was also found on the cooler handle.
Okay.
Right.
By the way, before you continue, Kenzie, there's no spoiler here. But we've gotten hundreds of texts that know that Val's Foods. And
really?
Yeah, people are all checking in, and some know this story, but I'm not looking at it, so I still don't know anything else.
Because I don't want it to be spoiled for you. Now, Val's Foods, I believe it's still around, and I think it's called Angelo's now. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I do believe it still exists and is called Angelo's in Johnsburg. I don't know at what point in time the name switched, but maybe around the murder. I don't know. But,
okay. Yeah.
But yes, so that is definitely like a local business that people for sure know.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Now, officers believed there was foul play between Brian and one of the owner's kids, Mario Casario, okay?
Mm-hmm.
However, they were never able to link Mario to that alleged crime scene. Like, his blood was found, Brian's blood was found, but no body was, no weapon was, and nobody was also linked to that scene. So it really is an alleged crime scene, if you will, you know?
Yep.
And they couldn't link Mario to it.
Huh.
So 3 years later.
Whoa, 3 years?
3 years later.
Okay.
Brian's body had still never been found.
Oh.
They couldn't attach anyone else to that scene. It was just Brian's blood. That's it. And at this point in time, Mario had gone on to graduate even from Illinois State University with a degree in finance. So he had continued to live his life. Now, in 2007, Mario was arrested and charged with pre-jury. Prosecutors claimed that he was lying to the grand jury about knowing how Brian was killed and how he was disposed of. So they were kind of going with, even if he didn't do it, he has to know what happened. Like, he was there, it's their grocery store, like something's going on was kind of the concept of this arrest.
That's wild.
But he was acquitted in 2009 because, once again, I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty. Other people worked at this store, and there was just nothing to link it, right? Even if you believe it, you got to have evidence, right?
They just kind of went on thinking he knows something.
Right.
He must have known something, but he didn't. Or at least at this point, they don't know that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 2009, he's acquitted. He's like, woo, that was a close one. Now I'm going to go enjoy my life.
Is that a real quote?
Yeah, well, it's my interpretation of what I read. It's been slightly, scenarios have been slightly adjusted for
for clarification purposes.
Yes, okay. Okay, but a new lead appeared when they met a key witness, Shane Lamb. Now, he had been a stock boy at Val's Foods, so he was an employee there. He was also a 5-time felon with a record that included attempted murder when he was 14 years old.
Ugh.
He was about to face 12 years in prison on cocaine charges. He had denied for years that he knew anything about Brian's disappearance or what had happened to his body. But in 2010, he was ready to make a deal and start talking. And we're going to pause there because what he has to say happened is insane.
Wow.
Not only is he involved, he is a key witness, and the story was not what I was expecting.
Okay. Cliffhanger.
Wow.
When we come back in 3 minutes, you get the rest of the story on Kenzie's Crimes.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.
All right, it's Brian and Kenzie on Q101, right in the middle of Kenzie's Crimes, a story about Johnsburg, Illinois, that Kenzie has laid out and left a cliffhanger for us before Local H. So, wow, this story has got a lot of people on the text line all checking in. And I'm not looking at when people are saying the results of it.
Good.
I guess apparently this was also featured on Dateline, this story you're getting into, which I always follow those on Friday night's Crimes. So Kenzie's Crimes, you take it from here, Kenzie.
Yeah, so just as a quick recap, because I don't want you to feel like you can't participate in the story if you just got here. So Brian Carrick he lived in Johnsburg. He was 17 years old, and he worked at Val's Foods as a stock boy. He was the 11th out of 14 kids, and 8 of his siblings had already worked at Val's Foods. They were very, very, very close with the Casario family, who was the owner of Val's Foods, and they had their kids working there, and it was truly just like this family operation between the two of them. Jerry Casario, one of the co-owners of Val's Foods, even said that Brian was like a son to him. The store was across the street from where Brian lived, like their house across the street.
Wow.
And he used to walk over when he saw that they were busy and just help beg, even on his day off. So just really tight-knit families. Brian went missing. He never showed up for his shift, which again, he lived across the street. So very, very obscure, right, for him to not show up to his shift. So Terry's mother got a phone call the next morning that Brian had never showed up, which was very out of character. And the entire community, because Johnsburg is just a really close community here in Illinois, they rushed to help. There was a $25,000 reward that Val's Foods offered to pay for. They were willing to help out with the candlelight vigil as well. Over 300 tips poured in. And unfortunately, for 3 years, the case went completely unsolved. They never found Brian's body. All they found was Brian's blood at Val's Foods. That was it. But no body, no weapon, no key witnesses. And that all changed when they finally received a witness, Shane Lamb. Now, let me do a quick background check on Shane Lamb. He was a stock boy at Val's Foods when it happened, but he was also a 5-time felon with a record that included attempted murder when he was 14, and he was about to face 12 years in prison on cocaine charges. He had denied ever knowing anything about the disappearance of Brian, but in 2010, he was ready to make a deal. Okay, so that's where we left off.
Right.
And he is saying he is a key eyewitness to what happened.
Give me the facts. I gotta know.
Okay. Here we go. So he told authorities, this is Shane Lamb, that Mario Casario, who was one of the kids of the Casario family and also worked at Val's Foods, right, was behind the entire thing. And he had asked Mario Casario had asked Shane Lamb to intimidate Brian into paying back money that he owed Mario for drugs.
Oh.
And let me get the exact statement here. So Lamb told prosecutors that on December 20th, 2002, which is the night that Brian supposedly went missing, he left a party and went to the store where he found Mario Casario, who told Brian Carrick, who told him that Brian Carrick was in the produce section. Shane Lamb claims he confronted Carrick during his 2010 meeting with prosecutors, and that he yelled at Brian Carrick by the produce section in order to intimidate him. He said, I went over there, told Brian, what's up with the money you owe him? Why don't you pay him, at least some of the money back? Lamb said to police during the interrogation. So he's gotten his face, started screaming at him to scare him on Mario's behalf to get the money. Now, Mario told them to move the fight inside the produce cooler because it started becoming way too loud. They had customers, all that. So he was like, get in the cooler and finish this conversation, right?
And if there's people trying to get their slices of turkey for the weekend for their sandwiches.
You know what I mean? Like, take the summer private, okay? Have some respect.
God,
you can talk about drugs, do it in the cooler. Everybody knows that. Now, Shane wasn't sure. Shane actually then proceeded to beat Brian up when they got inside the cooler and knocked him unconscious. And he wasn't sure if Brian was dead or alive after he knocked him unconscious, but Mario told him to leave and that he'd handle it.
Oof.
Yes.
Whoa.
So that's Shane's saying that's the last I knew, but beyond that.
Hey,
okay?
man, I just threw a little push in his chest. That's it. And I don't know what happened after that.
I don't know.
God.
The best is that he was like, don't know if he was dead or alive, which would also make you potentially the killer. And you just threw that out there.
Yeah.
He is, it makes you think that maybe it's honest. It doesn't make him look great, right?
Also not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
No, he's
Probably.
not. Well, he's done a lot. He seems like he has a lot of sharp knives. He's been part of a lot of crimes. So on February 25th, 2010, just a few months after being acquitted in 2009, Mario Casario was arrested and charged with first-degree murder with intimidation and unlawful restraint in the death of Brian Carrick, okay? Now, on February 1st, 2012, after 12 hours of deliberation, the jury was completely deadlocked and ended in a mistrial.
Whoa.
Now, think about this. He was originally charged in 2007 just because they claimed that he was lying about not knowing stuff. Now, you get acquitted in 2009. 2010, you're on trial again. 2012, it ends in a mistrial. And then, boom, a second trial proceeds. So think about how much of his life now, years and years and years. And, you know, he's not that old. He's in his 20s. All court cases, right?
Yeah.
So, on February 1st, 2012, the second trial proceeded on March 25th, 2013. So here we go again, March 25th, 2013. And he was convicted at 29 years old on April 2nd, 2013, and sentenced to 26 years in prison. He was found guilty.
Wow.
Yes, and sentenced 26 years in prison. Now it's 2013. He was finally sentenced, and he's been dealing with court things since 2007 for this. Okay.
Jeez.
Yes, insane. And it seems like Shane Lamb, who gave the testimony. He was an eyewitness in all of these cases. He showed up in 2010, 2012, 2013, spoke on it every single time with the same testimony, and had a videotaped testimony as well to match, okay?
Yeah.
So he was willing to be an eyewitness for every single one of these cases over years and years and years, okay? Mm-hmm. The conviction has since been overturned.
What?
Since September 2015, Shane Lamb recanted his testimony and claimed the entire thing was a lie. And he has no idea what happened, and he was never there, and he don't know if Mario was.
Now, I don't know, you're probably going to tell me, but was he intimidated by the family then maybe to change his story?
Nobody knows.
Oh, my God.
I will say this is one of the things that skews the line on why. Was he intimidated by the family? Was he paid off by the family? Or he genuinely was lying because they gave him tons of kind of freebies because he was about to go away for 12 years for cocaine.
Right, just said what they wanted to hear.
Based on his history, I don't know him. I never met him. Based on his history, he hasn't been the most stand-up human being in the world.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden he was ready to talk, make a deal, and new things. So that's kind of where the jury was able to argue that he could have just been saying this to gain his own freedom. Just lie.
Yeah.
Because all you have is his testimony. That's all you have.
Wow.
So it was turned. Now, Mario Casario is to this day a free man and an attorney. He went and got his degree in law, and he's an attorney because he's so passionate because he has been, he said it ruined his whole life. He was sitting in prison, like, for a crime he didn't commit in his 20s going, what the hell happened? This guy was like a brother to me. My family did everything they could for this family, and I'm sitting here in prison. So once it was overturned and he got released, he became an attorney. So to this day, some people think that family is guilty. The evidence is evidence. There is blood in that cooler. Brian walked across the street and was never seen again from his house to work, and then was never seen again, but his body has never been found.
Never been
they
found.
Have no other leads at all. And but you can't link Mario to the crime site at all. And it leaves you so conflicted because truly this family seems very nice. Like they did a lot of things to try to help. They were so part of the search. They helped search. They funded things. They hosted more than one candlelight vigil. This family participated and cared about the Carrick's family as a whole. So your heart breaks if truly he wasn't part of it because this was his friend. But it is weird that this 17-year-old walked across the street from his house. There is blood in your grocery store, and he was never seen again.
Good Lord, what a story.
Isn't that insane?
That's and a lot of people texting in because they live in the area of Johnsburg and they know this story and they know the grocery store, which is now called Angelo's, we believe.
Yes, it still exists. It's called Angelo's. Probably because if you Google Val's Foods, It's just like a murder that comes up instead of like the address and hours for business. So
Yeah.
I can understand why they would go that direction.
I just want cookies. I want to get my cookies and get out of here. I don't want to talk
I don't
about
want
it.
any trouble.
I don't want
Yeah.
any trouble at all.
Yeah, don't go to the produce section.
Yeah. Wow. That is insane. And
Yes.
again, a lot of listeners texting in on this one. And it is strange. Like you said, it's conflicted because the guy, Cesario, who's a lawyer now, if he's truly innocent, he lost all these years of his life fighting it. They're gone. You can't get him back. And then the other guy was maybe, or, who knows? Who knows?
And I gotta say, when I read that he is now a lawyer / attorney, whatever you want to call it, it made me kind of feel like, oh my God, maybe he is innocent. Because he felt so passionate to be like, I need to pursue law and make sure the right thing happens. You know what I mean? It just made it seem like if you're that passionate about it, like if you got away with a crime, I feel like you like to stay away from law and anything that associates you with it. Like it created a passion within him of like, this can't happen. I need to be educated. I want to make sure it doesn't happen to other people, etc., which would make you think that maybe he is innocent.
Yeah. I don't even know if I should read this. There's a lot of people checking in that live in the area. They said the rumor in that area in Johnsburg is that he was, the body was ground up in the meat grinder in the produce section back there, whatever.
Oh God!
And that's why there's no body.
Oh.
Again, that's just people checking in. That's all alleged. I don't know anything about it.
This is why when I see meat on sale at a grocery store, I never participate.
Oh my God!
I'm serious. It bothers me. I'm like, something's up.
You pay full price for your
Yeah,
meats.
I want my full price. This is real animal meat.
What a terrible story. I mean, but also leaving this just still hanging. And again, with all the things we do here, we try to follow up on stuff, and Kenzie will too. But this has been years
my
now with no
God.
follow up, probably.
Someone just texted in and said they went to school with Shane Lamb. Shane Lamb.
Yeah.
Shane Lamb, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm naturally a bully, obviously. No, Shane Lamb, and he's always been a POS, is what they said.
Again, this is all alleged. But yeah. It's so close to home for a lot of people in the Johnsburg area. They're remembering this story when it happened. It's terrible, especially since he's got 13 brothers and sisters out there.
I know.
The poor guy's got 13 brothers and sisters that are just living with this.
His family, though, so Brian's family, the Carricks, are very, very sweet, super religious, and unfortunately, their one goal, both of his parents have passed away, and their one goal was like, we know, like, we're not okay with it, but we know he's probably passed away, but we just want to lay his body at rest. It's so important for, like, our religion, and it really is heartbreaking that they never got that, but the dad was such a sweetheart. He even said, we get our answers one day, so if it's not here, it's somewhere else, and I'm not going to do, like, they just said the most positive things, and even when the conviction got, like, overturned and stuff, he was like, listen, yeah, I believe in heaven and hell, and you're going to go to one of those. Like, the judgment doesn't need to happen down here. Like, they just said really just a very enlightened perspective on the whole thing. I don't want to say positive. That's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know if I could be that gracious, in that situation.
Like very gracious and just probably doing their best to still be strong for the family. And so I really, really, really wish the best for that family. I do, because they seem so, so, so sweet.
If you joined here at the end, it's Kenzie's Krimes. Go to the podcast later today at Q101.com to hear the whole story about in Johnsburg, Val's Foods, and Brian Carrick. And thank you, Kenzie. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
On Q101.